Hi, friends. It's your friend Liz here. I'm going to talk to you guys about 10 things I learned when I became a widow. It's been a journey of becoming a widow. It hasn't been easy, not only for me or for no one, for me or for the boys, especially when your spouse passes away unexpectedly. And he passed away in a horrific accident that it was hard to even process what happened. One day they're here and the next day they're gone. And it is very hard to process it or to accept it. The first thing I learned was that you don't have enough time with your loved ones. You don't have enough time to tell them that you love them, that you don't have enough time to hug them because everything is such in a rush, rush, rush. So you don't even have that time to enjoy them. And you take them for granted. You really do. And as humans, we take everything for granted. It's just a human reaction. But I wish I had enough time with him to conquer our dreams, to plan the things that we wanted to plan. But those are all gone because he's passed. And some of those goals and plans that you have are no longer in place. And that is a very hard thing to accept. The second one was preparing a funeral. I had no idea how to prepare a funeral. I never had anyone that passed, or I didn't have anyone that I can experience to have a funeral. The cost of a funeral, at the time, my husband didn't have life insurance. He started working a new consulting job, so his money, he didn't have insurance, medical insurance either. So at the time, it was hard for me to be so vulnerable and ask for help. I was saying, no, no, I got it, even though deep inside, costly, I couldn't even afford it. I didn't know where to go. I spoke to my pastor, and thank God he recommended me this funeral place that was near home, and that he would help me and guide me financially. And that's what I needed at the time. And that funeral director was my angel because he took the time for me, discussed on things, ways on how to do the funeral. My husband was a veteran, so he would show me different cemeteries because um, I didn't have any funeral. We didn't have any funeral. We didn't have any cemetery, planning. I mean, his death was unexpected, and why, we didn't really plan about death. It's one thing we never discussed, and it was just a hard decision on what to do, how to plan, how to do his funeral. So the funeral director directed me and told me about this cemetery that were great for the cost of being a veteran, that the burial spot would do half of the cost for me. And at the time I was like, great, this is what I need. Yes, let's do it. And thank God I was fortunate enough that the cemetery had a spot for my husband. So it worked out great. It's so important if you have a spouse that is sick or or not sick. It's just great to have life insurance. It's a must needed. It's a must needed thing. It's a must needed discussion with your partner about death. I mean, no one really talks about it. Nobody really normalizes it. But I think it's time for us to normalize it and talk about, what they want to. Maybe there's some couples that do discuss that. But as time goes on, you really don't think it's a need to discuss it about death because we're young. We have this mind that, we have a full life ahead of us. We don't really need to discuss death or really need to discuss on any funeral. So that was a big eye opener for me. Big eye opener. We did have a will in place, but the will doesn't. It really didn't do much for me because I didn't have the the life insurance. I didn't have the money for the funeral. The third thing I learned was learning to live with my guilt. I just felt so guilty of living. So guilty that my husband wouldn't see the boys being raised, wouldn't see any of their successful milestones. He would never see when they first are driving, graduating from high school, entering college. He would never see that. And it was so heartbreaking. And you feel guilty of living. You feel guilty of seeing all those milestones. But in reality, you have to remind yourself it's not your fault. It's not your fault that things happen the way it is. I mean, life is just life. Life is has their turns and paths. It's unexpected. And you have to learn to to enjoy the time that you have. So, and to discuss things more with your partner on things. But I don't believe time heals because I just don't believe that. Time just goes forward with or without you. Time just goes, and you just gotta learn that it is not your fault on what happens. And I learned that within my healing process. The fourth one was grieving. People would tell me, "You're not grieving the right way. You know, you have to accept that he's passed. You have to accept this and you have to accept that." But I would just block it out because I was processing that now I'm a single mother. I'm working full-time job that wasn't making the amount of money that my husband was making at the time. I had children that had their needs of school and their responsibility and sports. I was living in a home that I couldn't afford, and it was really hard for me to process all that. And there was no time for me to process it because it was there in my face, and I had to deal with it. And I didn't accept it really fast that my husband passed away. I was on autopilot day by day, and it was a huge, it was just really, really difficult for me. The sixth is people would say the most awkward things to me at the funeral and at the wake. Because it was 2 days. My husband had 2 days. The first day was the wake, and the second day was the burial. The burial. Sorry, the burial was the second day, and the people would tell me the most awkward things that you can ever imagine. Oh, you're young. You'll find somebody else. You're young. You'll find a new love. Don't you worry. Oh, God needed an angel, so he needed your husband. And that's not things that you want to hear from anyone because you don't want to hear that you're young and you can find another love. I wanted my husband there. I wanted to raise my kids with my husband and share the responsibility for him to see his children grow up to be these young men. And he would be so proud of them. He would be so proud of them of how much he achieved. And those are the things that you don't want to hear from anyone, these awkward situations. It was hard. And sometimes you don't have the strength to say to them, you know what? Shut the hell up. Because you're trying to, you can't say because you only have enough strength. The only strength you have is for your kids and for yourself. And you don't have that mental capacity of saying anything to them. So that was my fifth. Yeah, my fifth. The sixth one was grieving the right way. There is no right way. I've learned that the hard way. There is no right way of grieving. Grieving comes in stages. Grieving never leaves you. It comes in ways. It comes unexpectedly. You just learn how to deal with your grieving. It becomes part of your life. It becomes part of you. So you have to learn the grieving process. I don't want to miss anything. So that was my sixth. So yeah, that was my sixth. The seventh one was I wanted to be isolated. I had a full, even though I'm grateful, like I had a whole support system. My mother-in-law was there. My sister at the time was there. My mom was there supporting me. But I just wanted to just be in a quiet place and just talk to my boys and discuss things with them. And it was just hard doing that because I just had a lot of people around me. And I am grateful, don't get me wrong, but I really needed the quiet space to process things, to know on how to be a single mom because I knew it was going to be a big challenge for me being doing it all, and it becomes very overwhelming to do both, um, to balance it, being a working mom and being a mom. And being a mom, you don't have any breaks or can't go on vacation. Your kids need you, so it was really hard for me to learn that balance at the time. But I did it though. I did it, and my boys are older now, and it was a blessing. But at the time, we had other people come in, give us dinners, lunches, whatever we need. And my oldest, I will never forget it. At the time, he was 16, and he was like, "Mom, why are they giving us all these dinners? Like, tell them to stop. Tell them to stop right now." And I would tell him, like, relax. It's because of kindness. They're helping us. There's nothing wrong with that. But I think that when he saw food coming his way, he would resemble that with the funeral. So that was a hard challenge. Um, but having a community that helps, it was great for us. It was so rewarding to have this community in place that will help us with anything we need. But within time, that community went back to their lives. Now I'm here alone. I didn't reach out, so it was like 3 months later, and I just felt very alone, very isolated, very alone. I didn't know how to handle things. At the time, I didn't wasn't vulnerable enough to reach out to people because I just didn't want to hear anybody's sayings or ask me how I'm doing. I just didn't want to talk about feelings or anything. But I did want that company. But if you feel like that, isolated and very sad, reach out. Reach out to your loved ones because they want to know how you're doing. And there's nothing wrong with that. You know, when you experience your spouse passing, you no longer fear death anymore. You really don't. Before my husband passed, I would have this fear of death. And I know we all had expiration dates, but I'm like, I don't want to die anytime soon. I got to do this, and that. I want to see my kids growing up, and all these things. And I would tell my husband, I don't want to pass away. And he would be telling me, like, it's okay. We have no control of that. We have no control of us passing. So I learned after he passed that I don't have that fear anymore. I live life day by day. I do set my goals because as a long time I didn't set any goals. But I'm okay leaving this earth. I'm living my purpose, and when the time is, when it's time, it's time, you know. And I've learned that not to focus your energy on dying. Be present in the moment. Enjoy now. So that's what I've been doing, and it's so hard to be in the present because you're too much seeing the future. But I've learned to be in the present, enjoy the time. Sometimes it's not the place you want to be, but you have to enjoy that time that you're in. Number nine. Number nine. At the time, my goodness, I would wake up so sad. I couldn't even get out from bed. And would try to see the joy in each day. And that was hard. It was really hard because I couldn't really enjoy the day. Um, I would have thoughts coming through my head. I will feel so tremendously sad. I would overthink and say to myself, you know, it was just such an overwhelming experience. I would cry in my office at work when no one was watching, and I really didn't enjoy any joy. But within my healing process, there is joy each day, and sometimes you don't see it or you don't want to see it because you're so much in pain and sadness. But I've learned that there is joy. The smallest things can give you joy. Your favorite cup of coffee, your favorite drink, meeting up with your families and friends, and having a great time. You will laugh again. You really, I promise you, you will laugh again. And that's another thing that you don't know if you will laugh again because you're so in deep sadness that you don't even know if you can. But when something is funny, you're going to laugh again. And that's what happened to me. I laughed again. So trying to find that joy in each day. It's a necessity. The 10th one, you have to give yourself grace and not be so hard on yourself. If you don't give yourself grace of making it through, then what's the point? What's the point of being upset with yourself when you can't control things? But what you can do is control your emotions on different ways. And yes, it's not hard to lose your loved one, but you have to accept the fact that you're still living and that you need to give yourself that grace because you're doing a fantastic job. You got to applaud yourself for making it through when you thought you couldn't do it, for having one step forward, and each day is going to get better. And you have to believe in yourself that it is. And if you believe in a higher power, because I know we have questions on what on the higher power and things happen the way they do, but if you hold on to your faith, it would guide you to the right place. It really would. And the little faith that I had at the time, because I was so hurt, so frustrated with God and questioning on things that just happened. But if you hold on your faith, it will guide you and it will make your soul a little lighter. It will make it a little lighter for you. So those are the 10 things that I learned when I became a widow. Thank you so much for watching. Please let me know in the comments on your journey if of being a widow or widower. I would love to know. Until next time, again, thank you for watching and staying with me. And you will find joy and happiness. I believe in you. heal, block everybody around you, and just breathe, because each day is going to get better. I promise you that. Until next